Dr. Elaine Mitchell was 3 months pregnant, leading a team of top specialists at Central Hospital. Her life was full, demanding, but fulfilling. But behind the medical charts and patient cases, something felt wrong to her. Victor, her husband of 14 years, had changed. Late nights. Missed calls. There was a distance she couldn't explain. She tried to believe it was just work stress. Until the day she received a call from his secretary. That night, she and her children were no longer welcome in their own home. But what he didn't expect was the note she left him. A final diagnosis. A sentence, with a deadline. Central Hospital. Dr. Elaine Mitchell strode through the bright corridors of Central Hospital, her white coat barely concealing the gentle swell of her 3-month pregnancy. At 42, she was at the peak of her career, one of the nation's leading specialists in Brenham Syndrome, a rare genetic disorder few could even diagnose. But lately, something had been gnawing at her. Victor, her husband of 14 years, had grown distant, coming home late and scheduling more business trips than usual. She tried to convince herself it was just work stress, but her heart knew better. Dr. Mitchell. Dr. Richard Park, an ambitious young physician, hurried toward her with a tablet. "I'd like your opinion on this case. I think it might be Brenham Syndrome." Elaine examined the data, immediately spotting several oversights. "Have you checked the blood markers? Brenham Syndrome can't be diagnosed on clinical presentation alone." Richard's confidence faltered. "Of course, I'm considering that too." Elaine felt irritation rising within her. Richard had been showing increasing interest in her specialty lately, reading papers but missing the nuanced understanding that came only from years with actual patients. Richard, bothering Dr. Mitchell again? Dr. Rachel Montgomery, a veteran cardiologist and Elaine's closest friend, approached with a warm smile. At the coffee machine, Rachel studied Elaine's face. "You look tired. Everything okay at home?" Elaine sighed. "Victor's been different lately. Distant. He's never been one to talk much about his past or family, has he?" A shadow crossed Elaine's face. "No, he was adopted after losing his parents young. His adoptive parents taught him to look forward, not back. I've always respected that, but sometimes it feels like there's this whole part of him I'll never know." She pulled out her ultrasound photo, changing the subject. "Baby number 3. Luke and Emma are thrilled." Rachel's eyes remained concerned. "And how are you feeling?" "Morning sickness is finally subsiding," Elaine replied, tucking the photo away. "If only Victor can be happier about it." Hospital hallway, later that day. Walking alone through a quiet corridor, Elaine's phone rang. It was from an unknown number. "Dr. Mitchell," she answered professionally. "Dr. Mitchell, or rather, Mrs. Mitchell." "Victor Mitchell's wife?" The female voice sounded hesitant, almost trembling. Elaine's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, that's me." "Who is this?" "Patricia Harris, Victor's secretary." "I know I shouldn't be calling you, but Victor hasn't been honest with you. He's been hiding something for weeks now. You deserve to know." There was something in Patricia's tone, an intimacy that sent a cold shiver down Elaine's spine. Jealousy blossomed in her chest like a dark flower, though her voice remained steady. "What exactly do you mean? What is he hiding?" "I'll be speaking with him this evening, at your home. I can explain everything then." The call ended, leaving Elaine frozen in place. The doctor in her began analyzing possibilities while the wife in her felt her world tilting on its axis. Checking her watch, she made a swift decision to leave work early. Mitchell home, evening. Rain pounded against the windshield as Elaine sat in her parked car, taking deep breaths to compose herself. Her hands trembled slightly as she gathered her things. Opening the front door, she immediately noticed an unfamiliar pair of stiletto heels in the entryway. Her heart pounded painfully as voices drifted from the living room. Through the partially open door, she saw Victor sitting with a woman, Patricia, leaning toward him intently. The woman's hand rested on Victor's arm in a gesture that seemed too intimate. They were speaking in hushed tones, their faces serious. Elaine pushed the door open. Both heads turned in surprise. "Elaine, you're home early," Victor said, his voice oddly cold. "I finished early," Elaine replied, her professional demeanor masking the hurricane of emotions inside her. Years of delivering difficult diagnoses had trained her to control her feelings. Patricia stood up. "Mrs. Mitchell, I'm Patricia Harris." She was beautiful and sophisticated. Elaine noticed an ID card in her open business bag, showing Patricia R. and what looked like a maiden name. There was something in Patricia's expression, concern that might have been for a loved one, but to Elaine, it felt like a threat. "What were you two discussing?" Elaine asked, her voice steady despite the chaos within. Victor sighed heavily. "I can't explain right now, but..." He paused, his face contorted with what seemed like physical pain. "Elaine, I need you to leave the house for a while." The words hit her like lightning. "Leave our house. Please, don't ask questions now. Take the kids, just for a few days." Patricia stood awkwardly nearby, guilt flashing across her face. Anger boiled up inside Elaine, reaching a breaking point, though outwardly she remained calm, the same composure she would show a patient receiving devastating news. "Fine," she said quietly. "I'll pick up the children and stay at a hotel." Without another word, Elaine climbed the stairs to Victor's study. As a doctor, she had noticed changes in his health over recent weeks, symptoms that had concerned her enough to quietly order some tests. She found the envelope containing those results and took it, along with a blank piece of paper. On the paper, she wrote a message, her hand perfectly steady despite her inner turmoil. "I won't care for you anymore. In 1 year, you'll be dead. And yet, I wish I didn't have to write this." Confrontation. Elaine descended the stairs, envelope and note in hand. Victor and Patricia remained in the living room, their conversation halted by her return. "Before I go, I want to give you this," Elaine said, her voice clinical and detached as she handed Victor the envelope and note. As Victor stared at the envelope in confusion, Elaine watched his face. In that moment, she wasn't his wife anymore, just a doctor delivering a final diagnosis. It might seem cold, but if she let any emotion in, she would have crumbled completely. Victor opened the envelope and examined the medical results inside. His face was drained of color. Patricia, looking over his shoulder, gasped softly, her expression changing dramatically. Elaine said nothing more. She simply turned and walked out the front door into the rain, her silhouette dissolving into the downpour like watercolor washing away. Hotel room, that evening. Elaine stood at the reception desk of the Grand Plaza Hotel, her professional composure hiding the storm inside her. Beside her, Luke and Emma looked around the luxurious lobby with wide eyes. "Wow, are we staying here?" Emma exclaimed, eyes sparkling. Elaine forced a smile. "Yes, sweetie. We're having a little adventure." "Where's Dad?" Luke asked, studying his mother's face. "Dad has important work to finish," Elaine replied, the lie bitter on her tongue. Later that night, with the children finally asleep, Elaine stood by the window. Rain streaked down the glass, mirroring the tears that now fell freely down her cheeks. "Mom." Elaine quickly wiped her eyes to find Luke standing in the doorway, his face creased with worry. "I'm fine," she lied. "Something happened with Dad, didn't it?" "It's complicated, Luke. Doesn't Dad love us anymore?" Emma's small voice came from behind them, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Elaine knelt and gathered both children into her arms. "Of course he loves you both. Sometimes adults have difficult things to work through. None of this is your fault. After tucking them back into bed, Elaine returned to the window and pulled out Victor's medical test results. The genetic markers left no doubt. Victor had Brenham Syndrome, a rare genetic disorder attacking vital organs progressively. Without treatment, he had perhaps a year. Her specialty, her life's work, was the very disease now threatening her husband. Elaine remembered the symptoms she'd noticed in Victor: fatigue, tremors, bruising. She had ordered tests without telling him, hoping to rule out her worst fears. Victor's only hope would be finding a donor with compatible HLA typing, but he has no living blood relatives, at least none that we know of. The realization hit her. Patricia. Could she possibly be? Next morning, Elaine walked through the hospital corridors with her head high. She sensed something different, conversations that stopped when she approached, sympathetic glances. In the doctor's lounge, Rachel approached her with concern. "Are you okay? I've heard some rumors." "About Victor and his secretary?" Elaine's voice remained calm. "Yes, Victor asked me and the children to leave our home." "That's terrible," Rachel exclaimed. "Why?" "He's sick, Rachel. Very sick." Richard then burst into the lounge. "Dr. Mitchell, I just read a fascinating paper on a new treatment approach for Brenham Syndrome." Elaine felt irritation pierce through her. Richard's academic enthusiasm about the disease destroying her family felt like a personal affront. He has no idea what these patients, what families, actually go through, she thought bitterly. "Brenham Syndrome can't be fully understood through literature," she replied evenly. "The clinical reality is far more complex." Rachel intervened. "Elaine, could I speak with you privately?" In the hallway, Rachel asked, "How are you really holding up?" "I need to stay professional," Elaine said, her facade cracking slightly. "You're a brilliant doctor," Rachel said gently. "But you're also human." The emergency department buzzed with controlled chaos as Elaine rushed through the doors. Rachel approached her. "He's stabilized. The workup confirms Brenham Syndrome in active progression." "Where is he?" "Bay 3. "But Elaine, there's another emergency admission. Female patient, severe Brenham crisis. They need a specialist." With a last glance toward where Victor lay, Elaine made her decision. "I'm coming." ICU room, critical moment. Elaine pushed open the door to ICU E3 and froze. Connected to monitors and deathly pale lay Patricia. As she checked Patricia's vitals, Elaine's mind raced. The genetic markers in her blood work were strikingly similar to Victor's, almost identical in key areas. They weren't lovers. They were siblings. Dr. Fleming, the ethics committee head, entered. "Dr. Mitchell, given your husband's personal connection to her, it is not surprising that she would be a great help to you." "I'm the only qualified specialist available," Elaine interrupted. "There's a clear conflict of interest." "She needs surgery within 24 hours or she'll die," Elaine stated flatly. Patricia's monitors suddenly blared alarms. Her oxygen levels plummeted. "She's crashing," a nurse called out. Dr. Fleming hesitated. "We'll find another specialist." But Elaine had already moved to Patricia's side, years of training taking over. In this moment, she wasn't a betrayed wife, she was a doctor facing a patient in desperate need. With clarity, Elaine realized that saving Patricia might be the key to saving Victor too. "Get her 2 or 4, Elaine commanded. Dr. Fleming looked conflicted. "I can't authorize this." "I took an oath to save lives," Elaine said, her eyes never leaving the monitors. "Report me afterward if you must." A nurse touched Dr. Fleming's arm. "Sir," her pressure's dropping fast. After what felt like eternity, he nodded. "Or 4. The old operating room was dimly lit. Elaine worked with practiced precision, her hands steady even as her mind whirled with implications. Pressure dropping, the anesthesiologist warned. "I see it," Elaine replied calmly. As she performed the delicate procedure, one that few doctors in the country could execute, Elaine felt a strange sense of destiny. Here she was, fighting to save the woman she had considered her rival, who now might be her husband's only hope. The doors swung open, and Dr. Garrison, the hospital director, entered. "Dr. Mitchell," his voice was stern. "What you're doing violates hospital protocols." Without looking up, Elaine responded. "I'm aware. File whatever reports you need to after I save this patient's life." He watched her work for several tense moments. "The board will have questions," he finally said, his tone softer. "And I'll answer them all," Elaine replied, her focus unwavering. After what seemed like hours, the procedure was complete. Patricia was stabilized. As Elaine stripped off her surgical gloves, exhaustion hit her like a physical blow. She leaned against the wall, suddenly unable to stand straight. Rachel entered and wrapped an arm around her friend's shoulders. "You did it," Rachel said softly. "But at what cost?" Elaine whispered, strain showing in her voice. "My marriage is in shambles, I might lose my license, and I still don't know what's really going on between Victor and Patricia." Rachel handed her a manila envelope. "This fell from Patricia's bag during the emergency. It's addressed to Victor." Elaine stared at the envelope, realizing it might contain the answers she desperately needed. "Are you truly ready?" Rachel asks, her voice holding layers of unspoken support. "Ready for what? To confront a truth that could either destroy or rebuild everything? To transform a moment of potential devastation into an opportunity for reconnection?" Elaine's mind weaves through medical journals and personal memories. Brenham Syndrome, no longer just a clinical diagnosis, but a narrative of human connection. A disease that reveals more about family than any genetic test could fully express. Some illnesses, she reflects, are more about the heart's memory than the body's breakdown. Some wounds can only be healed by understanding, by connection. Her hand rests on her pregnant belly, a living promise. Another life about to enter a family rewriting its own definition of belonging, of love, of forgiveness. The corridor stretches before her, a path between what was lost and what might still be found. Each step is a careful negotiation between the wounded wife, the dedicated doctor, and the woman standing on the precipice of a new understanding. Confession of truth. Victor's hospital room feels like a sacred space of revelation. Weak light filters through blinds, creating a landscape of shadows and truth. "Elaine," he whispers, his hand reaching out, not just physically, but emotionally. A gesture of complete surrender, of hope reborn. She approaches, carrying Patricia's letter like a bridge between misunderstanding and potential redemption. Years of unspoken emotions hover between them, fragile and charged. "I read the letter," she says. Simple words that contain entire universes of emotion. "Patricia, is she okay?" His first concern is for his sister, a profound revelation of a connection long suppressed, of a love that survived years of separation. Victor explains the years of silence. The adoptive parents who taught him that moving forward meant never looking back. The diagnosis that forced him to confront his unknown past. "I was afraid," he admits, his voice a fragile whisper. "Afraid of finding family only to lose them again. Afraid of giving you false hope." Elaine listens, not as a wife betrayed, but as a medical professional, as a human being capable of profound understanding. She sees now the intricate layers of his protection, the complex love that drove his silence. "I was trying to protect you," Victor continues. "If Patricia became your patient, you would have risked everything to save her." In that moment, they both understand. The secrecy was not a betrayal, but a desperate act of love. Protection born from fear, from a deep, complicated form of caring that transcends traditional understanding. We'll focus on what we can do now, Elaine says softly. Patricia could be your donor. That gives us real hope. The story of their family, broken, separated, but never truly lost, begins to reshape itself, one vulnerable truth at a time. Time seems to pause. In this moment, they are more than husband and wife, more than doctor and patient. They are two souls reconnecting, understanding that love is not about perfection, but about healing. Reconciliation and transplant surgery. 1 week later, Elaine visits Patricia's ICU room, where she is recovering. Patricia is weak but conscious. Dr. Mitchell, she says with a surprised expression. Call me Elaine, she smiles. How are you feeling? I'm getting better, thank you for performing the surgery, Patricia responds. It's my job, Elaine replies simply. Tears well up in Patricia's eyes. But I thought I had destroyed your family. Elaine takes a deep breath, carefully choosing her words. You didn't destroy our family. You saved it. She takes Patricia's hand. Do you know how long Victor has been searching for you? He thought he was alone all these years. And now, he has a sister. Patricia smiles through her tears. I always believed I had a brother. When I looked at my parents' photos, I felt I wasn't alone. As you recover, you'll bring great hope to Victor, Elaine says. With determination, Patricia declares, I'll be a donor. For my brother. Weeks later, preparations for the transplant surgery are complete. Patricia's recovery has been smooth, and her test results are promising. In the operating room, Rachel supports Elaine. Nervous? She asks. No, I'm okay, Elaine answers. This is important not just as a doctor, but as a wife, and now, as a sister-in-law. The surgery takes hours, but Elaine's exceptional skill and the team's coordination ensure success. When she emerges from the operating room, her worried children rush to her. Is Dad okay? Luke asks. And Dad's new sister? Emma adds, already accepting Patricia as family. They're both fine, Elaine smiles wearily. It will take time, but they'll recover. Family reintegration. 1 month later, in the hospital's rehabilitation room, Victor is gradually regaining his strength. Elaine and the children visit him. Dad, look what I drew. Emma proudly shows her artwork, depicting their family with Patricia now included. That's wonderful, Emma, Victor smiles. Luke sits quietly beside Victor. Come home soon, okay? Soon, Victor places his hand on his son's shoulder. After the rehabilitation session, Victor and Elaine walk down the hallway. His movements are still slow but steadily improving. It's because of you, Elaine, Victor says seriously. Your coldness saved me. If you hadn't shown me that diagnosis, I would never have found the courage to tell the truth. Elaine stops walking. That night, I became cold from anger and hurt. But it was the right choice after all. We had to learn again how to trust each other, he reflects. Down the hallway, Patricia is chatting with the children, telling some amusing story that makes them laugh. Dr. Garrison approaches. Unlike before, his expression is different. Dr. Mitchell, I formally apologize, he says solemnly. The ethics committee acknowledges that your courage and decisiveness saved 2 lives. Elaine nods. Thank you, Dr. Garrison. I was simply keeping my oath as a doctor. You did more than that, Victor interjects. You protected our family. Garrison chuckles, Dr. Mitchell, you'll have to teach me about clinical field ethics from now on. Yes, but only in the operating room, Elaine, surprised, responds. Epilogue. After half a year, the Mitchell family's mourning scene unfolds. A recovered Victor prepares breakfast. Patricia now visits frequently and has become crucial to the children. Today, the entire family has gathered at the hospital. Elaine is about to give birth. "We're about to have our third child," Victor says excitedly, his appearance now healthier than a year ago. "Yes, that's right," Elaine smiles, her belly significantly larger. In the hospital delivery room hallway, Luke, Emma, and Patricia wait behind the glass. "It won't be long now," Dr. Rachel Montgomery approaches, encouraging them. Inside the delivery room, Elaine makes her final effort. Suddenly, a baby's cry fills the room. "It's a girl," the doctor announces. As Elaine cradles the newborn and looks up, she sees her family watching through the glass, tearfully joyful. Victor stands beside her, gazing at the baby. "Turns out, love does what medicine can't, huh?" he says softly. Elaine smiles. Her expression radiates strength in overcoming past difficulties and hope for new beginnings. The camera pulls back, capturing the entire family. Their figures slowly fade out in warm light. Sometimes as a doctor, sometimes as a wife, and most of all as a mother. She fought for her family. And she learned, love is something that can transcend misunderstandings, sometimes heal illness, and always nurture new life. And she finally understood, sometimes, love is the medicine.